On this episode of DC On Screen, start up your Quake engine and come with us on a journey to feudal Japan to... we're not really sure exactly, but they're cat puppets. The Batmobile in a hut. Alfred brewing black tea from fermented green tea leaves. Bruce Wayne as a Western monk from a bat-based religious order. An unexplained bat prophecy that lets Batman have a ninja army he never really uses. And flute-controlled armor monkeys fighting steam-powered robots piloted by Gotham City's greatest villains. How can you not be into this? It's so weird, but so cool looking. We'll talk all about it right after this word from people with services to convince you of.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day. And for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry, with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome into DC On Screen episode 606. This is the podcast where we talk about the DC Comics multiverse on film and television, give honest opinions on projects upcoming and past, and believe that every version of a property is valid, even if we really don't want it to be. If it's been released, it is fair game, so beware of spoilers, and welcome to the show. I'm David C. Robertson, and this, she who underestimated the impregnable Birdman Castle, my special guest co-host, Japanese culture and anime expert, Christianna Trainer.
Hello!
Thank you for joining me tonight, Christy.
I'm glad to be joining you.
So, for those who do not know, Christianna is my sister-in-law, and she lives in Japan, and we've been talking about doing this for over a year, but
Wow.
I am actually glad that we didn't do it when the movie first came out. I'm glad that, because you've had a chance to really dig into some DC stuff.
I have, yes. Well, at least Batman stuff.
And I'm way more interested to find out what you thought of this now, after watching all the DC AU and so much of the animated movies. Because I feel like that's going to change your perception of Batman Ninja a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Get you a little more... a little more homework under you, you know?
Right. A little more knowledge of who the characters are.
So, in preparation for this thing, I had read an interview with Chu and Garcia, and they were saying that the Japanese version is different. The dialogue is 90% different, and that they had a lot of issues. They didn't know what the dialogue was. They didn't have a translation. They didn't even have a script. They were just kind of writing the American version or the English version off of the visuals. And then later on, they got like a 6-page plot outline or something. So we were like, we're going to watch both versions, and we're going to see how different they are.
Because I am always a stickler for only watching the original. Especially for things from Japan that have very poor English adaptions.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say, and I know the answer to this because we already talked, but for the listeners at home or in their cars, I assume, I don't know, out running, wherever you are, for the benefit of the listener, how different would you say the Japanese version is the ninja version? The Japanese version is from the English version.
The ninja version. Not very different. Not very different. Maybe a couple of different jokes and obviously different voice actors and the language, but the substance is pretty much all the same.
Yep. I didn't see a real big difference. I honestly sat there and went, well, that was an hour and 25 minutes I could have spent doing anything else.
Yeah.
Because I just watched this.
Yep. But at least it looked cool to watch a second time.
It did. And I got to watch some of the action sequences. Like, I became aware of things that I'd missed the first time because I'd kind of, you know how you get into something and then you kind of drift off. And
yep. And if they're, watching with subtitles, you're maybe not paying quite as much attention to the other visuals.
Right. Aside from like some little some little animations with their mouths and stuff, like every once in a while, are you familiar with the Telltale games?
No.
The video game series? I feel like it was animated a little bit like that, where it's drawn and then but like inside of a computer program and then sort of like stiffly animated.
Yeah, it looked also a little bit similar to the 3D animation used in The Dragon Prince.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that Netflix series.
I'm not, so...
It's decent, but I did quite enjoy the art in it, like really cool character designs, and I didn't mind the style of animation in it.
I didn't either.
Like, it had, the different kinds of animation for the different scenes. I don't know, some of it was weird, but I appreciated it.
Yeah, there were really cool stylistic choices.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes that really sticks out to me is Batman in shadow, like hanging upside down underneath that little bridge.
Yes, I loved that. That was so cool.
It felt like something that would have come out of like HBO's animated Spawn series of the 90s. It was just, it was so weird. Or I don't know if you ever saw the MTV Max cartoon.
No.
Based on Sam Keith's character, the Max. That's a really weird and cool character in a series. But Batman Ninja, man, it's such a weird story because
it's so strange.
It starts out with like Gorilla Grodd, who has created a time machine, and Batman and all of the appropriate Robins and apparently Alfred in the Batmobile for some reason or another.
Yeah, what?
Is all around. They're all at Arkham. And the whole time I'm thinking, you guys managed to figure out a way to get every Robin and Alfred in the Batmobile and Catwoman all in Arkham at the same time. Where's Batgirl?
Yeah. Yeah!
I need Barbara Gordon. Why not Spoiler? Why not Orphan? I could.
Yeah.
Why not freaking Luke Fox, Batwing? I can keep going with characters.
Did the Robins all seem in character? Obviously, you know them better than I do. I have little exposure to them, but like Robin and maybe Red Hood seemed a bit off to me.
Red Hood seemed perfectly in character to me.
Okay, maybe it was the Japanese version that was weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, he seemed pretty in character either way. Like, he's vicious, he's gonna beat the crap out of the Joker and Harley, even though they don't think they're Joker and Harley anymore. He's putting a gun up to this dude's head, only stopped by Batman. That's totally Red Hood. That's Jason Todd all day.
Right. Okay.
What was weird about the English version is I'm pretty sure... I'm going to have to look it up, and I meant to do it before, but I'm pretty sure that was Lorne Lester doing the version of Tim Drake of Red Robin.
Wait, Red Robin? That was Will Friedle.
Was that Will Friedle?
Yeah, sorry, Will Friedle.
Okay, I couldn't tell because he had so few lines.
Yeah, I felt like Red Robin and Nightwing were just kind of there.
Gotcha. Yeah,
they didn't really do anything. And then in the Japanese version for Red Hood, his voice actor is a Japanese voice actor who I am very familiar with from other roles, and like his two biggest roles are for characters that are really, really emo. So it really threw off the character, I think, because the other characters that voice actor has done don't really match Red Hood, and the guy doesn't really change his voice at all. It's like always the same.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's Will Friedle, or maybe Friedle. I don't know. I thought it was Friedle, but yeah, man, I totally thought that was Lorne Lester who did Dick Grayson on the animated series, but yeah, that makes me feel better that it was Terry McGinnis.
Yep.
Whatever. Tara Strong, wasted as Poison Ivy here because she has like 3 lines and it's all about countless flowers transformation or some crap. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a really weird story though.
Because we have Grodd, who looks awful in this animation. Like he was.
Yeah, so weird.
He looks like they just like threw digital doo-doo on him and said it was fur. He was like one of the big disappointments for me. I was just like, why does Grodd look so bad? Not much
worse than Nightwing's head.
See, Nightwing's head just looked to me exactly like I would imagine.
His hair was so huge.
It was just exactly as like Nightwing traditionally does not have good hair. I don't know.
It was really bad in this.
I'm pretty sure when you were watching animated series,
or New Adventures or whatever you want to call it, when Nightwing shows up with the mullet, I was like, oh yeah, you don't even know the half of it. And I was just sending you like pictures from the comics throughout the decades of like bad Nightwing hair.
But I will take bad animated series mullet Nightwing over the weird like cone head Nightwing in
that's just anime hair.
Yeah, but at least when it's like that, like he looked like he had Super Saiyan hair, and at least the justification for the Super Saiyan hair is that, like, you know, there's the power flare making their hair stand up, but he just had like weird gravity defying cone head hair.
Oh, is that why? Is that why the Super Saiyans have that hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like all the power making their hair stand up.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was just like a Wolverine thing. You know how Wolverine just has like the spiky hair for no reason? That's
true. But I mean, with him, you just got to assume that like he gels it or something.
There is absolutely nothing less Wolverine-like than putting product in your hair.
Maybe you don't know him as well as you think you do.
Wolvie's all about the glam, yo.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Batman shows up in Japan because of this time machine. Everybody else has been sucked in, and for whatever reason, Alfred was there. Somehow they built a shack or put the Batmobile in a shack or something, and that's not explained because they've all been there for 2 years, and Bruce just got there. And I don't know what happened in the story to let Joker and his minions know where it was, but as soon as Bruce arrives, they took it down. They were they're like blasting it with cannons. And we find out that all of the villains have taken over as like gods or something.
Like they took the place of, like in Japanese history, of course, there's the Warring States period.
Mm-hmm.
With all of the different shoguns and the daimyo.
Right.
Like trying, and you know, like they've all got like different parts of Japan, so they just like replaced those historical figures with the villains.
Which would have been cool if we had gotten more of it. Like I felt like all of the other villains got total short shrift. Most of all Deathstroke, but you know, whatever, man. I would have so much rather had seen them like operating outside of their stupid robots.
Yeah. I think a story about the 2 years before Batman got there would have been way cooler.
Absolutely. Like, and Poison Ivy is one of my favorite villains. And I think she is very well suited to this kind of story. And they completely wasted her in every sense of the word. Penguin, not one of my favorite characters, but still very well suited to this notion.
Yeah.
Completely wasted. Every villain but Joker was wasted. Even Harley was wasted because what's weird is like at this point, Harley was very full-fledged, very like outside of Joker's reach. Like the characters had broken up in the comics, broken up in most other forms of media. And in this tale, it feels like a very big step back where she's just sort of like, I'm just going to call you Mr. J and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of a bummer. I don't know what else to say about that other than that was a thing I felt.
Yeah. Yeah, the other villains also kind of just felt like they were there to be there.
And I almost wish they had just said, this is an alternate tale that takes place in feudal Japan.
That's exactly, I even made a note of that. The time travel thing, I was not buying it.
Yeah.
It would have been much better presented as an alternate universe version of things.
Yeah, and I'm fine with buying it as a story device. They're much more outlandish things in DC Comics.
Yeah.
But I think the story would have been stronger if it was just set in feudal Japan. And I kind of felt like there was a part of the story, and in an hour and 25 minutes, you can't get into every nuance that you want to get into. And I feel like they've tried to cram a lot of different themes in, like Batman's reliance on technology and how he thought he was nothing when he didn't have his technology. That's a really cool idea to explore, but I feel like they didn't. I feel like the point where he was like, I thought that because I lost my technology, I was nothing. And I was like, oh, this is the first time I thought this was an issue.
Yeah, right? It seemed like from the beginning he was like way too focused on having his technology. Because when he found Alfred in the Batmobile, it was presented as, oh, now I've got the Batmobile. I can do anything. But like, he's Batman. Shouldn't he be able to do something even, with just himself?
Yeah, and maybe I've just watched too much Batman or read too much Batman before all this technology. was really prevalent.
Mhm.
But to be fair, the beginning of this movie was probably the most technological I've seen Batman outside of like the Arkham games, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that I've seen him be that reliant on gadgets. Like some gadgets, yes, like a Batarang or whatever, but it's not often that you see like the I don't know, what would you call it? Like the Iron Man graphics in his helmet and the eyes, he's like zooming in on stuff. And
I mean, it felt more like, like he had an intelligent suit rather than just like, a suit of armor and weapons.
Yeah. And I
mean, at one point he actually did have a suit when the Batmobile, changed forms like 5 times and finally became a suit of armor that lasted for like a whole 5 seconds.
Before it was crushed underneath the giant.
Yeah. Right.
And all of that was really cool to watch.
Yes.
I was just also sort of going, what is this?
Yeah. Yep.
And they have this bit and they were like, oh, they don't have steam powered things in Japan at this time period. And they're like, the Joker doesn't care about history.
Yes.
I was like, what?
Yeah, but still, like, how did he make the history advance? Like, what?
Like, I guess it's a thing in anime to like go back to feudal Japan and they all have robots or like steam powered robots. Like,
no,
is that a thing?
No, usually when they go back to feudal Japan, it's like, oh, we're in feudal Japan. We have to use bows and arrows and horse travel or run like ninjas.
Well, fair enough. I was curious. I was like, is this a thing? Is this
that is definitely not a thing.
Alternate universe, like feudal Japan steampunk type of thing?
Yeah, it felt to me like the people who made it were like, all right, we've got to shove in as many tropes from Japanese animation as we possibly can, regardless of the time period. So even though it's in feudal Japan, because that's one of the tropes, we got to have that one. We got to have giant robots. We got to have the robots come together. We got to have cool ninjas. We've got to have cool samurai armor. Like, you got to have all of it.
And I loved the cult of Batman or whatever. Like, but I felt like those bat ninjas didn't do anything.
I know. I wanted to see them do stuff.
I would have much rather have seen them do stuff. And it was so frustrating because like the Robins are like Batman's like, I thought I was nothing because I lost my technology, but I still have this body. I still have my mind and I still have all of you. And they're like, what we're going to do is we're going to take like 21st century fighting techniques and we're going to marry those with like ninja training, and ninja blades are still sharper than anything that technology can create in our century. Yeah. And we're going to use this century's methods to fight the villains of the future. I'm like, cool. That's awesome. That sounds great. Yeah. And then it was like, or we're going to call a bunch of monkeys to make a giant monkey.
Yes. Oh, that was so annoying.
That's then covered in bats.
Yeah. And then became a Batman. That
became not just a Batman, but Golden Age Batman.
Yes.
From the 1930s. And then, inexplicably, in the final battle between Joker and Batman, Batman's like, you thought you killed me, but now I'm exploding into bats.
Yeah, that was weird, too.
Like, when did Batman get supernatural powers? And
I have no idea. And then he did the whole, like, floating with the bats, and he did all the ninja signs, and, like, that looked really cool. But, like, even if we could have had, like, a 10-second training montage where we saw him learn that, would have been a little helpful.
Exactly. Like, this was the weirdest thing. Like, they took such leaps in this thing.
Weird.
And I was curious because you are an anime fan.
Yeah, I am.
Aside from watching a little Miyazaki and being interested in Cowboy Bebop but not having gotten around to it yet, I'm not an anime guy. Like, so I don't know. I mean, I've seen Vampire Hunter D, but I don't think that counts. Watching Afro Samurai does not make you an anime fan.
No.
It was good. This apparently comes from that guy, the guy that created Afro Samurai.
Oh my gosh!
I just looked up and I said, wait, why is it saying Afro Samurai on the Wikipedia page? Oh, it's from the creator of Afro Samurai. Cool. But yeah, I had no idea what was going on in this movie. Like
I was pretty lost too.
I knew they had they each of the warlords had one of the elements of the time machine, of the quake engine or whatever they're calling it, and that was like their little MacGuffin that they had to get a hold of. I have no idea. I don't know how a million monkeys turns into one giant monkey.
Nope, me neither.
It looked cool when they like showed up close them all turning and their backpacks becoming the armor. I felt really bad when Joker like had Harley give them a warm kiss, quote unquote, and she burnt them and they were all just like charred monkeys falling off of it.
I know that was like a lot more like emotionally impactful than all of the Bat Clan ninja dudes getting killed at some point.
Did they get killed at some point, or was it just
I don't know if they got killed, but you know, like they were presented as expendable.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there was like a point where it was like, oh, you have men in the water, and Joker and Harley killed all of them, and then it turned out they weren't really the ninjas; they were just like.
But like the monkeys got more attention than the actual human ninjas.
They did, and they were weird.
Yeah, they were so weird.
I mean, I get it because of Grodd, but the thing about Grodd is like traditionally, I don't think he's ever controlled monkeys with a flute. I thought he had like a mind control device. Like when he put on the mind control device on the ship, and then they were all like, "Oh, yeah, that doesn't work on us. We either have had training or we have hearts of steel, whichever version you want to believe."
Yeah.
And your mind control doesn't work on us. Like I dug that he gave them the power to do that, and then he was like, "Yep, I'm too injured. Whatever, guys." But I was confused by Robin's monkey.
Yeah, okay, that was, I think of the whole movie, what confused me the most was Robin and his monkey.
I was confused I
don't know these characters super well, but I was under the impression that Robin is not usually super happy-go-lucky and like, let's make friends with monkeys.
He is not. He is a little angry warrior man. That's
what I thought. And this Robin was not a little angry warrior man. He was like super happy-go-lucky jumping around with his monkey friend.
Yeah. And what was funny is like, I love Damien because of how dark and angry he always is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's this great bit in the books where he's just like, he tells all the other Robins, I'm going to take something that's important from you. They're like, why are you going to do that? And he's like, because just to show you I can, and just to make a fool out of all of you, to prove that I'm the best. He is just, I really enjoy his character, and a lot of fans say that he's a jerk. They don't like him. I love Damien. This was not Damien. This didn't feel like Damien.
I didn't think so. And I even thought, I was like, after watching the Japanese version first, I was like, okay, well, I hope they fix him in the English version. But even in the English version, he was maybe only slightly subdued from the Japanese version, but still very chipper.
Yeah, and what's more is this Tim Drake didn't feel like Tim Drake, the Red Robin. He was just very much just a static individual who was there.
Yep.
And I would say the same thing for Nightwing, honestly. He did not feel like Dick Grayson in any iteration I've seen.
Right. So Jason Todd was the only one who was maybe Jason Todd.
Oh, Jason Todd was Jason Todd.
Yeah.
He was absolutely Jason Todd.
Well, I mean, Red Robin and Nightwing just kind of, like, there was no character really at all for them.
Yeah, they were sort of treated as like, here are two versions of the same avatar of a bat follower.
Yeah.
And then we have this guy who's not really helping out in any capacity other than just hanging out in the middle of the fields and beating on farmers that look like villains.
Yeah.
That sounds like Jason Todd. Just kind of off doing his own thing until Batman has to stop him from killing somebody.
Yep.
I do think that the story might have been served better if we had Barbara Gordon instead of Catwoman. I was happy to see Catwoman anyway. She was a little weird her
Yeah.
And I'll say this. I thought her bust was a little ridiculous.
A little bit.
Like each one is bigger than her head. What is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, it's always bothered me when people draw Catwoman that way because she's supposed to be, able to get around quickly. I don't think she could with the way they draw her.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think she'd be incredibly weighted down.
Like a generic, voluptuous fighting female in some anime.
Mm-hmm.
She did not seem like, a female character with much character.
She wasn't. She was kind of a double crosser, which it goes along with Catwoman.
Yeah.
They did have a little bit of flirtation between her and Bruce, which I liked. That also goes along with the characters quite well.
Right.
What did you think of the characterization of Batman?
I thought it was sometimes it was good, sometimes it was really weird, and then sometimes I could not get past the scene when he was a monk and he had a bat shaved into his head.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Oh my gosh, that was so bad.
And weirdly short-lived.
That was so bad.
Like, why?
It was so weird. He just felt like, though, okay, like, my idea of Batman is that, like, he can, like, get out of anything, and, like, he's very resourceful and, like, a really good fighter, and he uses whatever he has around. But this Batman was just like, oh, I have no technology. I cannot fight.
Except he can. That's what he does.
Yeah, right?
I mean, to be fair, they didn't give him a lot of time where he wasn't fighting, though. Like,
yeah.
There was that one little bit where he's, like, walking around with a bat shaved into his head. Like, that's not obvious.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to disguise myself as a Western missionary. But
bat in my head.
On my Bible, I'm going to have a bat symbol. And then on the back of my head, I'm going to have a bat symbol shaved into my head. What are you doing, man?
Yeah, seriously.
It did not feel conducive to any sort of stealth operation.
Right.
I could conceive. Like, I feel like Joker would have just been, like, sitting up in his tower and look down and go, oh, hey, that white guy with the bat in his head. I bet that's Batman.
Yep.
But
also, just like a side note, a couple of scenes where he had like the cowl off, but he still had the rest of the headpiece. He totally had like a major cleft chin.
Yeah.
The way it like shaped his head. I don't know. I thought he looked really, really weird in some of the scenes where his actual face was shown.
Yeah. That was strange. There was something with the character design that felt off to me.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked his batsuit before he got like the ninja armor.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I want action figures of all of it.
Yes, me too.
And
they all look really freaking cool.
They do, and all of the figures I've found are expensive as crap.
Yep.
Have you gone on that search yourself?
I have seen them in person.
Oh well.
Yeah. At the Batman pop-up store.
Nice.
And I wanted all of them.
Well,
but
yeah.
I decided it was not an option when I saw the price tags.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing is anywhere from $55 to $150 for these things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, nope, no ma'am, because I'm gonna have to have all of them.
It almost felt like speaking of the figures, it almost felt like the movie could have been made based on the figures rather than having figures that were made on the movie. You know, like that's totally a thing. Like,
yeah.
There'll be a line of toys released and then a show made about it, like with Masters of the Universe and Jim and the Holograms, you name it.
Transformers, yeah. Oh, yeah, I've seen every episode of The Toys That Made Us, and sadly, I knew most of those stories before I watched those episodes.
Oh, that is a bummer. But, like, for how not impressive the story in this was, it seems like it could have just been a marketing ploy. But, I mean, I haven't looked into this. I don't think the toys came first.
Oh, no, I don't think so. Like, I feel like it was very much designed for the possibility of toys.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I would probably, if they were more modestly priced, I would totally, and even if they weren't, I would totally want it. The Batmobile that turns into the Batwing, that turns into the Batcycle, that turns into the suit of armor. I would get every version of that.
It was so cool.
It was so cool, and I want Batman's.
It was so short-lived.
Huh?
It was so short-lived.
It was, and I man, I want Joker. I want Harley. I didn't really see much of Poison Ivy or Two-Face, but I would get them if they were part of the line. If it was part of the line, I would get it. But the Ninja Batman, like the Bat Ninjas, like they all looked really cool. All of it looked really cool.
Yeah.
I could deal with that. It felt like they were going to push some sort of action figure at me. But I have you can only find like a couple of versions of Ninja Batman and like a Catwoman.
Mm-hmm. I know I saw Batman, and I'm pretty sure I saw Joker at the pop cover.
Yeah,
like a like super high quality set.
Yeah, but I want all the Robins. I want all of it. Everybody.
Yeah, I think more interested in the character designs and the costume designs than anything else.
Yeah, well, that was like that. Most of that could have remained if they had just done Batman in feudal Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, I get it. Like honestly, the giant robots were like my least favorite thing. When they were like fighting with swords and their fans and stuff, like that was really cool.
Yeah.
The giant robots felt weird.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say, but I completely agree. I love giant robots. I'm super into giant robot stuff, but the giant robots just did not fit, and I thought they were like ridiculously over the top overkill. And
I was confused. Was Joker like mentally tapped into his robot? Because
I have no idea. Like, I thought Grodd's thing was like connected to Grodd's brain, but it was just like connected to his robot and the machine.
Yeah, I don't know, because when the monkeys were climbing up all the villains in one machine, like Joker was screaming about how it tickled or itched or something, and was moving around, and like the robot seemed to be like moving around with him in the same way.
Yep.
And then that was the last time we heard about that, because then it was just like telling Harley to do things. I'm like, you can't just do it with your mind? What is happening here? I don't understand.
Yeah, it was super weird.
Okay, so I'm really glad that you were as confused as I am, because I just felt like
definitely confused.
I am just a dumb Westerner who doesn't understand. And that, by the way, that's something that I've seen a lot of people say, like, dude, I love Batman, but I don't understand. I tried to watch it and I don't understand like Eastern narrative.
No, it was not an Eastern narrative thing as far as I could tell. It was just weird and not very well written.
And like, the normal co-host on this show, Jason, he doesn't care for anime anyway. He finds it confusing anyway. And he tried to watch, like, he got 5 minutes into it, was like, nope.
Oh, that's a shame. It's at least worth just seeing because it looks cool, I think.
It is. Like, it does look cool. It does. Everything except for Alfred's tiny little ponytail.
Oh my gosh, that made me laugh so hard.
That was so ridiculous.
Like, oh, they've been in Japan for 2 years. He's picked up the top knot tradition. Same with Damien's hair. I guess 2 years was long enough for him to adopt the traditional hairstyle of a boy his age as well.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess you would not want to be... Everybody wants to fit in,
Right.
No one wants to be ousted.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny how quickly Bruce's hair grew back.
I know! Only took a month.
Well, he's got them back chemicals,
Right.
He's injected himself with all sorts of stuff over the years so that his bones don't... I don't know. Maybe. I don't...
Maybe something Alfred made him eat.
Yeah.
Alfred was super into, like, using all the Japanese ingredients around.
Indeed.
And, they had to make a big deal about how he, like, figured out how to brew black tea from Japanese tea leaves.
Yep. He let them ferment.
Right.
If I recall.
Right.
And then he's like, we have a high protein diet of blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Why are we listening to this?
Why was Alfred there?
Here's a question I have. What was the point of, like, we got 2 strange animation transitions.
Yes.
One was in that in that little montage of, like, the Robins are like, and we're gonna do it from the strengths of this era or something.
Yep.
And it became like almost like some sort of strange, barely animated sequence from a video.
It felt like an action comic.
Yes, yeah. It felt like a motion comic. That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
It also just felt like what I was thinking. It felt like was the like the little interstitials in video games from like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And then it transitions from that into somewhat of like an impressionistic colored pencil animation.
Yeah, with Joker and Harley and Red Hood.
Yes.
Yep. I have no idea why. I mean, I thought both of those scenes were like they were cool and I liked looking at them, but I did not understand why they were that way. I mean, this like the style was obviously supposed to be like referencing Japanese ukiyo-e and like, you know, traditional Japanese art styles and stuff, but
I say like I know what you're talking about.
yeah, but it was I don't understand how it fit into the whole thing.
Yeah, I felt like it was another example of what you were talking about before. Like, let's grab all of the tropes and just cram as much, like, these are Japanese things and throw them in.
Exactly.
So this is like the second big outing for an anime version of Batman that I kind of felt like fell flat. Because Gotham Knights felt flat to me, or Gotham Knight, where they had like little vignettes that was done by a different anime director.
Yeah, like the few shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
And what was weird about those is like that all of those stories were supposed to take place in between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I was just like, none of this feels like it fits in with the Nolan's universe at all.
And did you notice at the very end, the scene with Catwoman, when she went to the shop to sell the big vase?
Yes.
Even that was a slightly different style. It was like suddenly they dropped the 3D animation tendencies, and it was just like straight up anime style. It showed her.
It definitely looked different. And I was confused about what I was supposed to believe because it felt like we were supposed to believe they had changed history somehow. Because Gotham...
is that what you got from it? I just was confused.
I was confused, but like I wasn't sure if that's what I was supposed to get. Like I thought it was like a cutesy, like, well, we took the Batmobile to feudal Japan. Now we're bringing a feudal Japan Batmobile back to the 21st century.
They cannot turn.
What was funny about that is that when it couldn't turn and it hit that car that was totally looked like a Joker car. It was like purple and green. But what struck me and made me think, like, did they accidentally change history or something? Is that like that Gotham looked like it still looked like some sort of like, it looked like someone from feudal Japan had like created a version of what they might imagine a 21st century city would look like.
Oh, okay.
Like it looked weird. It didn't look like...
It definitely looked weird.
It didn't look like an American city.
Yeah. And you got a lot more out of it than I did, though. I just thought, okay, this is weird.
And I mean, I might be wrong, but also...
Who knows?
Here's another situation where I'm like, even if you're eccentric billionaire, we can get that. Whatever. If you've got to ride around with horses and some sort of weird Japanese carriage, whatever, man. You guys make billions of dollars. You're crazy. We know you're crazy. Why are you going to have a giant bat symbol in the back of the Wayne car?
Seriously.
Like, do you care about your secret identity, man?
Yep.
So all of that was weird.
It was really weird. I think the second time watching the first bit of the credits with like I don't even know what to call that. Pictures, I guess.
The little comic panels.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Yeah, the second time watching, I paid more attention and realized that was like supposed to be showing what happened after they got back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that the first time. It just looked like they were showing characters to me.
Well, clearly...
I guess they brought all the villains back, and then there was the one panel where Gordon was very surprised to be given, like, a rope with the Gorilla Grodd.
I thought it was, like, I was watching them just say the names of the creators, and I was just going, that's not canon. They're just randomly saying the names of the director and stuff. And
yeah. Yeah.
Batman's like, why are you saying that, Jim? Come back to me. I love Tony Hale as the Joker.
I didn't like him at first, but he grew on me.
Really? Like, did you prefer the Japanese voice actor?
I didn't really have an opinion on the Japanese voice actor, but at the beginning of watching it in English, when I first heard the Joker, I felt like he sounded like really childish, like someone trying to be the Joker. But as I watched it more, I got more used to it, and I liked him in the end. But in the beginning, I wasn't feeling it.
I just like Tony Hale, and he is I can't remember. Have you seen Arrested Development?
No, I haven't.
He played a character named Buster, and he was like a mother's boy, like a mama's boy, and he was like he's a grown man, and he studied cartography and all this stuff, and like they're like, Buster studied cartography. They're on a boat in the pilot episode, and they hand him a map, and he looks at it and he goes, okay, so the blue part is land. Like, oh, okay. Well, nope, we're not listening to him. And he is just like a ridiculous person. Like, they have him chasing a bird that's gotten into the apartment, and he's just like screaming that there's a bird. Like, he gets his hand bitten off by a seal.
Oh my gosh.
And keeps screaming that he's a monster because he's got like a mechanical claw hand.
Oh my gosh.
He's a really funny actor, a really funny character actor. And he has a lot of range. I was very excited to see that he was Joker, and I felt like he did a really good job. Our last episode that we just put out was a review of Harley Quinn season 2, the animated show from DC Universe.
Okay.
And Tony Hale plays Dr. Psycho, a deeply misogynistic villain who has mind powers. And he's so funny in that role, and he just has a lot of range, but his voice stays kind of roughly the same.
Okay.
But I thought he did a really good job, and after hearing the Japanese version, I thought, he really did capture the same attitude.
Yeah.
And the same nuances, some of the same nuances that the Japanese actor hit. So I get that sense. I was pleased with him. And Grey Griffin, she's been playing Catwoman forever. Tara Strong has been playing Harley Quinn forever, like at this point. So yeah, they felt like home to me.
That's good. Yeah, I didn't think, as for the canon characters in the English version, I thought they were fine. Some of them better than in the Japanese version, which makes sense since, like, they were kind of characters being borrowed for the Japanese version, if you want to say that. But the one English version voice that I really had a problem with was the Bat Clan leader.
Oh, really?
Because they gave him a not Japanese accent. I'm not as familiar with other Asian accents as I am with Japanese for obvious reasons, but it sounded like a pretty solid Chinese English accent to me. And that was just really, really annoying since, it was supposed to be set in feudal Japan. And the actor who plays him, I looked him up on YouTube, and he is a native English speaker with an American accent. So he put on an Asian accent that was not Japanese for this guy who's supposed to be a Japanese ninja clan leader. So that was weird.
Yikes.
Yep.
That's not great.
Yeah, not great.
I didn't notice anything, but I wouldn't.
I'm sure that's what they were banking on.
Yeah,
They probably didn't notice it either, but yeah, I thought that was in poor taste.
Yeah, it is. I was sitting over here going like, you guys are wasting Tom Kenny. How dare you give SpongeBob like one tiny line? Yeah. And it was about like overestimating his impregnable Birdman castle.
Yes.
How do you get SpongeBob to be the penguin and give him like a line and a half plus like a little snicker when he's holding up his little like glowing?
Yeah, I kind of forgot that Penguin was even in it until I watched it the second time because he was like so seldom actually in it.
Yeah. And what did you think of so there are two different versions of this interchange, and it was one of the ones that really stuck out to me. Both of them were bad.
Okay.
When Harley is kind of walking to go help Joker out, and Catwoman attacks her from behind, and she turns to see Catwoman like up high looking down at her, and Catwoman in the English version says, "I'm ready for a little girl on girl action." In the Japanese version she says, "I am your opponent." Which one do you prefer? Because I hate them both so much.
They are both pretty bad, but at least in the Japanese version, I don't know, it's more of like a common line, as in like, all right, I'm the one you're gonna fight. Get ready.
But like that statement, the way she said, like the face that they had her give, like this almost like a little flirtatious, like winky type of thing, made sense more with the English version, but neither one of them were good lines.
Yeah, they were both pretty bad.
But because I watched the English version first, because I'm like, okay, let me get a grip on what's happening.
Oh, interesting. Okay. See, I watched the Japanese version first.
Well, I don't know how it worked on your end, but on my end, when I rented it, the English version played first.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? That's fine. I need to know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I regretted later that I did it that way.
Okay. Why?
Mainly because I was a lot more bored during the Japanese version, but I had to read the subtitles.
Yeah.
So I wish I had watched the Japanese version first and read the subtitles and been very attentive. And then I could have put it on and kind of just listened to it while doing other things, and just hearing the new dialogue and going, well, that's not what they really said.
Yeah.
But I did it the opposite way, because when I rented it from Amazon, they literally just gave me the entire thing in one file. And at the end of that, of the English version, it just starts playing the Japanese version.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's just, I was just like, all right, whatever.
What did you think of the voices in the Japanese version and the voice acting?
I felt like the voice acting matched a lot more.
Okay.
In the Japanese version.
Yeah, I felt for the most part like it was better in the Japanese version too. And normally that wouldn't surprise me because, as I've said before, I always think the original is better. But I thought for this it would be different since they are like Western characters that are traditionally done in English.
Yeah, I don't feel like most of the characters, I don't think it mattered that they were traditionally Western characters.
Yeah.
Because in either version they just seem so bizarre. Like the fact, like I think the Japanese voice actors work better for the animation. They Japanese Batman is way better than Roger Craig Smith. Like,
yeah, I agree on that.
I did not like the English actor playing him.
He wasn't great.
And I understand he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's done a lot of stuff. That's cool. I'm happy for him. I did not like his version of this character. A lot of his lines fell flat for me when I felt like they could have been delivered slightly different and achieved greater success. But overall, I felt like the Japanese voices were more tame.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed is, there's a little montage scene where they have all of the lords holding their respective, I don't know, glowy phalluses, whatever that was supposed to go with Gorilla Grodd's machine.
Yeah,
and,
the things.
Overlooking their kingdom.
Yeah.
And in the English, like in the Japanese version, like maybe two of them make some kind of like noise, some sort of guttural little like yip or noise or something.
Yeah.
In the English version, every one of them did. In the English version, they're all like, ha, ha.
Yeah.
This is awful. And then when I watched the Japanese version, I'm like, oh, one of them chuckled and the other one went, And then the others just kind of were there. And we didn't need all that. Like, I felt like the Japanese version was more subtle. Yeah. And like the English version was just like, oh, they make a bunch of like yips and grunts. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it to like 1,000%.
Did you notice that the monkeys were not dubbed? Like, as in, like, kept the same voice for the monkeys, for Monkey Chi?
I did not. I did not notice that.
They didn't need to dub Monkey Chi.
Yeah, they're like, oh, God.
They should have just not dubbed the Ninja Clan leader as well and given him subtitles in the English version. That would have been much better.
That would have been cool.
And would have, kind of given it a bit of authenticity. Like, okay, we've got all of these characters from America. They're speaking English, but let's let the Japanese guys speak Japanese.
Yeah. I thought it was weird that Bane was not.
Dude, Bane was so weird.
Sumo Bane.
Showed up for just a second, was a sumo dude, and then he was gone and never mentioned again.
Yeah, and Batman is like, Bane, even you?
Yeah.
And like, okay, in whether or not you want to go with the Tom Hardy version or you want to go with the comics version, I mean, like, Bane is not just some Japanese dude who's like a sumo wrestler. So it's weird to me that in the English version they didn't get someone who is like South American or something to do the voice, or someone doing a Tom Hardy impersonation. I just think it was weird. They're like, nope, in the English version, we're going to keep him Japanese. But why? I don't know.
Because he still said Doskoi in the English version.
Yeah. I didn't get it.
It was really weird.
It was the strangest version, and oddly, like, it was one of my favorite things, though. It was just like...
it looked so cool, but also it was just really freaking weird.
Yeah, I felt like he was like one of the remnants from probably like one of the remnant designs from when they were just going to do an alternate universe in feudal Japan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not that I even know that that's a thing that happened. I don't.
The people who made it, like, had all this time to imagine all these things they wanted to do with it. And if they could have made a TV series out of it, they would have done all these things. And then they were like, oh, wait, we only have an hour and 25 minutes. So let's just use all of it anyway.
Yep. It is a super strange thing. And it's totally worth watching.
Totally. It really is. Like, literally, it's worth watching because it looks cool.
It looks really cool. Like, it looks awesome. And there's something weird that happens to you, and I can't describe it, really. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a swelling of your heart or something.
Yeah.
When you see Joker kick Batman, and he just, like, bursts into a bevy of bats.
Totally.
And then the bats fly up, and then Batman, like, rematerializes. I don't know why that happens.
Yeah, and thinking about how supposedly there was a ninja clan in feudal Japan that, like, had a prophecy about Batman coming.
I know. I wanted to know why.
I know, and, like, they should have just made a whole movie about the ninja clan.
They should have. And
I just wanted to know about them, and, like, you know, all of their weapons were, like, spot on with the bat symbol. Like, they matched Batman's stuff perfectly.
Yep. I wanted to know. Here's what I wanted to happen. I wanted like, when they went into the time machine, I wanted them to wind up even further back and accidentally leave remnants behind that would set up Joker and his steam machines and set up the prophecy.
Mm-hmm. And that would have made things actually make a little bit of sense.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, okay, so it was a wacky adventure. If they want to make a sequel, I'll watch it.
I will totally watch it too.
I don't know what I'll do with it.
But I'll probably only watch the Japanese version.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like,
Well, I don't know. If they tell me that they're two different versions again, you can watch it first and you be the one to tell me if it's true or not.
Even if they had said that, you know, this exactly the same, I would have... Well, if they had said it was exactly the same, I probably would have just watched the English version because I know, like, all of the people who are playing these characters.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, no, I'm always going to support, you know, Tara Strong and Gray Griffin and Tony Hale or whoever. So I don't know. But it is one of those things that, like, people who don't like anime always complain about. It's like, oh, the voice acting is so overdone. And if this is any indication of what normally happens, that, you know, the English actors are just, like, way overacting.
Yeah.
For no discernible reason. Because I assume it's some sort of, like, ingrained racism from, like, bad dubs of Japanese movies where they're like, oh, no, you have to scream, hi!
Yeah.
And, like, yell everything.
I would like to know why it's so hard to do a good dub. Like, for the longest time, I thought, oh, well, you know, it's because they don't get good actors to do it. But obviously, that's not the case.
Yeah, it's totally not the case.
It's like, the dubbing is just so often not good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't know, man. It is
and
so
it's not
weird.
Just like that the dubbing in English is bad. Like, I've watched stuff that's originally in English and just for kicks and giggles checked out a few minutes of it in Japanese on my Japanese Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And the Japanese dubbing is just as bad as the English dubbing. It's just like the dubbed versions are never quite as good.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of that is just because your brain, if you know a thing, your brain's not going to be able to reconcile it well.
Right.
But yeah, I do legitimately just like, I think the dubs, like, well, obviously, like, a lot of times, and I assume that's what they did here, is they will record the actors and then animate it to the voices.
Yeah.
So the English voices aren't going to line up with what the mouths and facial expressions are doing.
Right.
So something I noticed here was I felt like the Japanese voices lined up. They were more subdued and they lined up with what the characters' faces were doing.
Yeah.
Their mouths were doing way more than the English versions were.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that's probably just a big part of it, is just knowing that it's not right. It just looks like it is. Me and Bethany have been watching a lot of James Bond. And then I watched the 1967 In the Heat of the Night. There was so much dubbing every time they were outdoors, so much ADR, and it looked awful.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing that's in old movies, is that more so. Maybe they've, figured out a way to make it better. And then I was just on a kick, so I went ahead and watched the pilot episode of the TV show In the Heat of the Night from the 80s, from 88. Same thing, where it was just every time they were outside, their mouths are moving, and then half a second later, the voices come out, and it's just so weird. And it's that same feeling I get when I watch a, dub from English dub over a, Japanese or other foreign, quote unquote, foreign film.
Yeah.
Just it's not right.
It just feels like an imposter.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying really hard not to start singing Snow right now.
What?
Imposter. It's a 90s thing. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
It was a rapper named Imposter, and he sounded Jamaican, and everybody loved him until the video dropped, and it turned out he was a white dude.
Oh my gosh.
Who wasn't from Jamaica, but he was just doing a Jamaican accent.
Wow.
And then Jim Carrey did a great parody of him on In Living Color, and it was fantastic.
That's great.
Actually, the song was Informer, and the Jim Carrey parody was Imposter. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's how that went down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else to say about Batman Ninja?
Oh, just one small thing.
Sure.
Do you keep wanting to call it Ninja Batman? Because I keep wanting to call it Ninja Batman, and seeing that the Japanese subtitle is Ninja Batman, why in the world did they title it Batman Ninja?
I don't know. I was confused by that, and I thought you might have an answer for it, and then I forgot about it.
Just the Japanese subtitle, the subtitle that's written in Japanese, says Ninja Batman.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Maybe they just thought, if we put ninja first, it's like the SEO thing. You put your most important keyword first.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. They're people will buy anything that has Batman on it. Don't put ninja, because that they probably did some testing and found out that people were oh, Batman, cool, I'll buy that. And then they showed them Ninja Batman. They were I don't want to watch a ninja thing. That's not Batman.
No.
We got so much blowback about that, and it was so weird because a lot of our listeners, they don't talk about the animated movies nearly as much. But when Batman Ninja was announced, we got so many people who were just I'm not going to watch that. That's not Batman. Oh, really?
It looks so cool.
It does look cool. And I was over here going oh, the trailer for this looks so amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And then Jason was
You gotta at least try it before you say it's bad.
Mm-hmm. He did try it for 5 or 10 minutes, something like that.
Well, he can judge the 5 or 10 minutes he watched, but he can't judge the whole thing without watching it.
Right. It was, yeah, because he and I share a DC Universe account, and it was one of those things where we just me and Bethany signed in to go watch something and saw that Batman Ninja was about 5 or 10 minutes in. The bar was right there, and I just laughed. I'm yep, that's all he's gonna watch. He gave it a shot and went, nope. But yeah, I'm happy to have watched it. It was weird, but
yeah, I'm not sorry that I watched it. It was cool, even though it was weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's not there's not a lot of spoilery stuff, so
Oh yeah, I mean, it taught me nothing that I didn't already know, which is saying a lot. I don't know very much.
You know more than you think you know.
Maybe.
You knew enough to know that didn't act like Damien.
That's true.
You're that didn't seem like Damien. And that's extraordinary for someone like you, because you haven't had a lot of experience with Damien.
That's true.
He's not in a lot of stuff.
That's true.
He's not very prevalent in the animated stuff, except for the new DC Universe animated movies, and I don't think you've seen those, have you?
I couldn't tell you what I have and haven't seen without a list in front of me, but I feel like I've maybe seen him once or twice.
Have you seen Son of Batman?
Maybe.
Batman versus Robin?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, because like those were all part of like Flashpoint Paradox, Justice League War, Justice League Throne of Atlantis, Son of Batman, Batman versus Robin, Batman Bad Blood, all of that stuff is all in the same line.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually over now. That continuity has run its course. They ended it with this massive dark side apocalypse war movie. And apparently it was very brutal. Omega beams slicing main characters in half.
Oh, no.
Intestines, blood, the whole thing.
Everyone die?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet because I'm behind. I haven't seen them all.
Wow.
They just kept releasing them and I kept going, oh, that looks good. I need to watch. I've seen Justice League War. I've seen the first one.
Okay.
And Jason and I keep scheduling a review for it, and then crazy news always drops, and we're just like, nope. Snyder Cut's getting released. We got to talk about that instead. Nope. Michael Keaton's going to be in Flashpoint. We got to talk about that instead. Anyway, do you have anything else? I don't have anything else, I don't think.
No, I think that's all I've got.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And you're welcome for inviting you. Do you have anything to plug?
I don't think so.
You're not creating anything on the web like everybody else?
A Japanese English language exchange. That's about the only thing.
Okay. Well, I guess that'll work.
Okay. Well, I lead a Japanese English language exchange that's connected to my church, Lifehouse Tokyo.
All right.
And we meet on Sundays at 2:15 Japan Standard Time. So if you want to practice Japanese, you can find us at Lifehouse Tokyo's Instagram.
Such a weird thing to pimp here, but I guess that's what we're doing.
That's all I've got.
No judgment. Start a YouTube channel. I don't know. No, thank you very much for being here and for watching two versions of the same movie. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Like I said, it was cool to look at.
Right. I feel bad though because every time now this is like 2 for 2, or it's like an inconvenience when you come on one of my shows because we did Breaking Bond together and we were talking about what was it called? You Only Live Twice or whatever.
Oh yeah. Well, you're just gonna have to find something that is not a chore to watch.
Yeah, and you were like, "This is awful."
It was pretty awful. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, Bethany and I have found a few that were way more awfuler. So I don't know, but yeah, I apologize. Hopefully, we can. You could be a part of a podcast someday. That's where the subject matter was a little more, because this wasn't bad. It was weird. It wasn't bad, but you had to watch it twice.
Yep.
With the promise of a thing that wasn't there.
Right.
I totally thought this thing was going to be like entirely different.
I know, me too. I was really disappointed that it wasn't.
I was like, maybe the Japanese version makes all the robots and stuff make sense. It did not.
Definitely did not.
So, by the way, I want to know this.
Okay.
Is there any precedent for like whatever those weird projections were like the sticks with the monkey faces and were like popping up on the map? Like it was like ancient radar or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I can't really explain it, but it wasn't something that I saw for the first time.
Really? It
didn't stand out to me. To me, it was just absorbed as like a common visual in a Japanese piece of fiction.
That's interesting.
Or a Japanese piece of media.
Because I was just like, what does that mean? Does that mean that there are like, they have like some sort of projector or something where they're...
No, I read it as just being like a...
because I would assume people were like holding the sticks with the monkey faces and like...
Yeah, like puppets, sort of?
Yeah, like puppets showing Joker where everything was going on.
It just kind of seemed like a whimsical depiction of whatever kind of radar the Joker must have had in there.
Okay.
Not to be taken literally, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
I have no idea, though.
That's a tough road to hoe.
It really didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he had all those guys with the Joker masks on. But
right, maybe so.
I don't know. The Joker Samurai or whatever Batman called him. All right, well, I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening, every one of you. And until next time, keep some DC on your screen.
Our intro music is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Galactic Engineers of Magnetic Sounds, or GEMS, can be found on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Visit DCOnScreen.com to find our Patreon, merch, contact information, and every episode of the show for free, including crossovers we've done with other podcasts. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. For more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, vlogs, parodies, and our improvised web series Hey Guy, visit maladjusted.tv.
It is not for me to know.